All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we are stepping into the role of the geneticist. We are going to completely decode the exact strategy you need to engineer the perfect DNA of an A-star answer for your Cambridge Computer Science and Information Technology exams, specifically focusing on topic 6.1. Now listen, what we are talking about today applies across the entire board, whether you're sitting for syllabus codes 0417, 0478, 2210, 9618, or 9626. The fundamental architecture of a top-tier answer doesn't change. Today, we are engineering that perfect DNA using a golden, non-negotiable equation. Evidence plus analysis equals A-star. I want you to literally picture two typical students sitting in the exam hall right now. Let's call them Alex and Sam. First, we have Alex. Alex is what I like to call the data dumper. Alex looks at a question about how different demographic groups are affected by IT, panics a little bit, and just overloads the page with raw computer science facts. We're talking 3 pages listing everything they know about hardware, software, and networks, but offering absolutely zero critical analysis. The examiner looks at it, and it's just a wall of text. Then, on the other hand, we have Sam. Sam is the rusher. Sam sees the clock ticking down, gets massive anxiety, rushes through the paragraph, and completely misses the specific command word requirements the examiner has explicitly laid out in the prompt. Both of these students, Alex and Sam, are losing massive amounts of marks. When you look at their papers side by side, it's just a sea of red pen marks. But don't worry, because today we're going to transform those red marks into green check marks. So that brings us to the most critical question, one that comes straight from the principal examiner reports year after year. Why is it so incredibly hard for students like Alex and Sam to bridge the gap between just knowing the raw facts and actually evaluating the evidence to draw meaningful conclusions? We see this constantly. The Cambridge examiners tell us that candidates consistently struggle to draw meaningful, context-driven conclusions. You see, an examiner isn't just looking for you to tell them what a computer is or how a basic local area network functions. They already know that. They are looking for the why and the how. They want to see your brain working. When you look at Sam and Alex's flawed answers side by side, the red pen marks always highlight the exact same missing elements: a total lack of justification, a failure to assess relative importance, and completely ignoring the specific scenario provided. If you truly want to master this, you have to completely change your mindset. You have to stop reading the textbook like it's a novel and start reading it like a strategist. You have to understand that the assessment objectives are actively testing your critical thinking, your logic, and your ability to connect dots, not just your short-term memory. Here is our exact playbook for today's session. 1. Core principles and connections. 2. The method mark strategy. 3. Mastering critical analysis. And 4. Top examiner warnings. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Core principles and connections.
Okay, to engineer this perfect answer, you must first completely decode the command words. Words like evaluate, analyze, discuss, and compare. These are not just casual suggestions from the examiner. They are strict architectural blueprints for exactly how your paragraph needs to be structured. When a question asks you to evaluate how different groups are affected by IT, it is strictly demanding that you weigh the pros and cons, look at multiple different perspectives, and come to a heavily justified conclusion. Now, before we look at the specific demographics and break this down further, subscribe to our YouTube channel Ace the Exams at aceexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon right now. All right, let's look at the parameters we're working with. The theoretical foundations of topic 6.1 rest on analyzing 4 specific demographic categories: age groups, urban versus rural locations, education levels, and socioeconomic groups. This is the raw material you are giving to build your answer. But remember, the conceptual framework requires systematic analysis and evidence-based reasoning. Let me give you an example. If the exam asks about the digital divide, you cannot just write, "Older people struggle with technology." That is a generic, superficial, unanalyzed statement that gets you 0 marks. You have to break down why an older demographic might face usability barriers, perhaps due to physical interface design or a lack of intuitive UI familiarity, and contrast that explicitly with the rapid adoption rates of younger demographics who grew up as digital natives. This brings us to a massive concept: superficial breadth versus analytical depth. The Cambridge Assessment Framework strictly prioritizes deep, structured reasoning over superficial facts, which, if you remember, is exactly where our student Alex goes completely wrong. Superficial breadth is naming 10 different IT devices used in a smart city. The examiner doesn't care that you know 10 devices. Analytical depth, however, is explaining exactly how urban broadband fiber optic infrastructure fundamentally alters remote working capabilities compared to rural satellite latency limitations. To consistently achieve this depth, top students use a specific framework. We call it the PEAL framework: point, evidence, explanation, link. Think about how you would apply this right now to a statement about education levels. Your point is your opening claim. Your evidence is the specific computer science concept or data backing it up. Your explanation is exactly how that evidence supports the point you just made.
and your link ties the whole thing neatly back to the specific exam scenario. The examiner will always reward the candidate whose approach drills down to the core logic over the candidate whose answer is an inch deep and a mile wide. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that mastering precise definitions and mapping causal relationships to other syllabus areas is your secret weapon to unlocking the highest grade boundaries. This is where you level up from a B to an A star. The principal examiner reports explicitly highlight that candidates who reference cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. What does that mean? Well, if you are discussing socioeconomic groups in Topic 6.1, you shouldn't just stay in Topic 6.1. You should be actively pulling in knowledge from hardware specifications, network types, or even data privacy and security. For example, let's say lower socioeconomic groups might rely on older legacy hardware. How does that connect? Well, that directly impacts their ability to run modern secure encryption protocols, which leaves them significantly more vulnerable to cyber threats and data breaches. Boom! You've just linked Topic 6.1 demographics to advanced network security. That is exactly how you engineer an A-star response.
Section 2, the method mark strategy. This is the part where we start transforming those flawed red marks into green check marks.
The absolute beauty of Cambridge computer science and IT mark schemes is that they often award what we call method marks. This is huge. It means that even if your final conclusion is slightly off base, you can still secure the majority of the marks simply by demonstrating the correct analytical process on the page. There is a 5-step standardized sequence you must execute every single time. Let's do a rapid rewrite of Sam and Alex's answers together right now. Step 1. Deconstruct the question. You literally take your pen and underline the command word and the specific demographic. Step 2. Extract data from the scenario. If the scenario is a rural hospital in a developing nation, extract that context immediately. Step 3. Select your framework. We are, of course, using the Peel framework we just talked about. Step 4. Execute with clear notation. This means structuring your paragraph logically, not just a massive brain dump. Step 5. Present with correct terminology. This is vital. We are going to change Alex's generic phrase, fast internet, to high bandwidth fiber optic connectivity. And we're going to change Sam's colloquial poor people to lower socioeconomic demographics with restricted capital access. See the difference? It's night and day. When you faithfully follow these 5 steps, your answer practically writes itself, and the examiner literally has no choice but to award you the marks.
Stop scrolling. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. We've helped thousands of students improve by 2-3 grade boundaries. Join them right now by subscribing to at acetheexams_IGCS and turn on all notifications so you never miss our weekly exam strategy sessions. Okay, jumping back into the mechanics of your answer. The presentation of your information follows strict conventions. Practical application develops professional skills. If the exam question asks you for a report format, you absolutely must use proper headings. If it asks for an evaluation, you must clearly annotate both sides of the argument before concluding. Using appropriate terminology isn't just about trying to sound smart for the sake of it, it's about precision. Precision proves to the examiner that you are a dedicated subject specialist, not just a casual observer making guesses.
Section 3, Mastering Critical Analysis. Let's really test those skills now.
Critical analysis is the highest tier of the assessment objectives. And let me tell you, it is exactly where the A-star boundary is drawn in the sand. Higher order objectives demand that you evaluate alternatives and compare approaches by explicitly identifying both similarities and differences. Okay, we're going to run our first interactive workshop challenge right now. This is challenge 1, the data scan. I want you to imagine a complex computer science data chart on your screen showing urban versus rural IT infrastructure access over a 10-year period. I'm putting a 60-second visual countdown timer on this in your mind. Your task is to extract the core trend. Clock is ticking. What do you see? You shouldn't just see numbers going up or down. You should see that while both urban and rural areas show a baseline increase in mobile device usage, which is your similarity, the rate of high-speed broadband infrastructure investment in urban areas is exponentially higher, which is your difference. Notice the strict requirements here. You must use comparative connectives. Words like whereas, conversely, however, or in contrast are giant visual cues to the examiner that you are actively engaging in comparative analysis. And finally, you must draw conclusions about the relative importance of these factors.
As we establish, you cannot just describe the data. You have to interpret relationships and draw evidence-based conclusions to hit those top academic benchmarks. Let's move immediately to challenge 2. Find the flaw. I'm going to read you a flawed sample paragraph from a mock exam, and I want you to act as the examiner. Identify the sentence that loses marks. Listen closely. Socioeconomic groups with higher incomes have better computers. This means they can do their homework faster. Therefore, they get better grades. Did you catch the flaw? Take a second. Actually, scratch that. It's not just a flaw, it's a complete structural collapse. It is totally lacking in technical justification and questions zero assumptions. It's exactly the kind of answer Alex would write. Now, let's fix it for challenge 3, speed writing. I'm putting a 30-second timer on the clock. Let's formulate one perfect Peel paragraph together to replace that mess. Ready? Point. Higher socioeconomic status facilitates access to superior hardware specifications. Evidence. These demographic groups can afford devices with multi-core processors and significantly greater RAM capacity. Explanation. This directly allows for the efficient latency-free execution of complex resource-intensive educational software, such as 3D rendering engines or advanced programming IDEs. Link. Consequently, financial resources directly correlate with the ability to leverage advanced IT tools for a measurable educational advantage. Boom. That is how a top-scoring Cambridge candidate writes.
Section 4. Top examiner warnings. We are at the final hurdle.
Straight from the grading officials, there are exactly 3 major mistakes consistently highlighted year after year that you absolutely unconditionally must avoid. If you can eliminate these 3 structural errors from your exam technique today, your mark potential progress bar will immediately shoot toward 100%. We aren't talking about minor spelling errors here. These are fundamental structural flaws that completely prevent candidates from accessing the higher mark bands no matter how many facts they memorized.
To guarantee your success, you must ensure your responses are highly specific, properly formatted, and strictly tied to the provided scenario. Let's break these top mistakes down into 3 unbreakable rules, the computer science success blueprint, that guarantee top marks. Rule 1. Command word decoding. This fixes the vague answer problem. When examiners say answers are too vague, they mean students are just giving basic dictionary definitions instead of deep analysis. Rule 2. Peel framework application. This instantly fixes the formatting and presentation issue. The Peel structure inherently forces you to present your logic clearly, sequentially, and conventionally. Rule 3, the time management matrix. This is huge. If you don't manage your time in the exam hall, you will inevitably write answers that are not specific to the context given simply because you are rushing, just like our student Sam from the beginning of this explainer. You absolutely must allocate time not just to write frantically, but to read the scenario carefully and map your points directly to it. Look at this quote directly from the reports. The classic mistake is providing generic answers, not specific to the question context. Always link every point to the given scenario. This is the ultimate golden rule. Let me make this incredibly clear. If the exam question is about a rural farming community adopting IoT sensors for crop management, and you write a brilliant, technically flawless paragraph about how IT affects education in an urban city school, you will score a 0. Let me repeat that. 0 marks. The context is everything. An answer without context is just floating in space. So, the ultimate system is this. Combine the theoretical architecture of the syllabus, the rigorous methodological process of the Peel framework, and the deep critical evaluation required by the command words, and you will absolutely conquer Topic 6.1, or frankly, any other topic on your paper. Students who implement these exact computer science strategies see an average improvement of 2 grade boundaries. But, and this is a big but, only if they practice consistently with our weekly sessions. Here's your final reminder. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Subscribe right now to @acetheexams_IGCS and click that bell. Don't let another exam pass you by. We've thoroughly covered age, location, education, and socioeconomic factors today. The blueprint is fully in your hands now. Drop a comment below with your target grade for computer science and the biggest challenge you're facing right now. Our team actively responds to every single comment. Like and share this explainer with a study partner who needs this strategy. Ace the Exams, your Cambridge success starts here. But before you close this tab, I'll leave you with one final provocative question to get you thinking. Which specific demographic group are you going to critically analyze first in your next practice paper? Get to work, and I'll see you in the next session.